The stars stretched endlessly before the stellar dawn as it cruised through the Orion arm of the galaxy. Captain James Walker stood at the bridge's main viewport, his weathered hands clasped behind his back. 20 years of space service had taught him to trust his gut. And right now, something felt off. "Status report," he called out, his voice steady despite his unease. "All systems normal, Captain," replied Ann Miller from her engineering station. Her fingers danced across the holographic controls as she monitored the ship's vital signs. "The new quantum drive is performing exactly as expected." Robert Thompson looked up from his science station, his gray eyes reflecting the blue glow of his screens. "Long-range scans are clear. We should reach the diplomatic rendezvous point in approximately 6 hours." The Stellar Dawn was humanity's pride, their most advanced ship and a symbol of how far they'd come since first reaching for the stars. Its sleek design and powerful engines represented the best of human engineering. The ship carried Earth's diplomatic team to a historic meeting with the Galactic Council, where humanity would finally take its place among the spacefaring races. Walker was about to respond when the ship's sensors suddenly screamed to life. Red warning lights flooded the bridge as Thompson's hands flew across his console. "Multiple ships dropping out of faster-than-light travel," Thompson shouted. "Configuration unknown. They're not in our database." Before Walker could issue orders, 3 massive vessels materialized around the Stellar Dawn. Their dark hulls seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it, and their design was unlike anything humanity had encountered before. They were all sharp angles and geometric patterns, with no visible weapons or propulsion systems. "Open all communication channels," Walker commanded, maintaining his composure. "This is Captain James Walker of the Earth Alliance vessel Stellar Dawn. We are on a diplomatic mission and—" A harsh, grating sound cut through the ship's speakers, making several crew members wince. When it stopped, a cold, artificial voice spoke in perfect English. "Humans, your presence in space has been evaluated. You have been found wanting." Ann's console erupted in warnings. "Captain, they're scanning us. But these aren't normal scans. They're somehow interfacing with our systems." The ship shuddered as invisible forces began to tear at its hull. Walker watched in horror as sections of the Stellar Dawn's outer armor began to peel away like paper in a strong wind. The unknown aliens weren't just attacking them. They were systematically taking their ship apart. "Shields at maximum," Walker ordered. "Evasive maneuvers." "Shields are having no effect," Ann reported, her voice tight with frustration. "Whatever they're using, it's bypassing all our defenses. It's like they're unmaking us at a molecular level." The artificial voice spoke again. "We are the Vex. Your technological advancement follows an unacceptable pattern. Your species relies too heavily on emotion and instinct. You are inefficient, chaotic, a potential threat to galactic stability." Walker gripped his command chair as the ship lurched violently. "Get us out of here. Emergency jump. The quantum drive isn't responding." Ann's fingers flew across her controls. "They've locked onto our systems somehow. I'm trying to. Wait." Her eyes widened. "Captain, they're copying our database. They're stealing everything. Our technology, our research, our defense protocols." Through the viewport, Walker watched as pieces of his ship floated away into space. The Stellar Dawn, humanity's greatest achievement, was being dissected like a lab specimen. The bridge crew worked frantically at their stations, but nothing they tried had any effect on the Vex ships. "Your species will cease all space exploration immediately," the Vex voice announced. "Return to your planet. Any further attempts to expand beyond your solar system will result in your extinction. We have analyzed your capabilities fully. You cannot resist." Walker exchanged looks with his senior officers. Ann's face was flushed with anger, while Thompson's expression was one of fascination despite their dire situation. They all knew what this meant. Humanity was being caged, locked away in their own solar system by a species that viewed them as little more than troublesome animals. Emergency power to the quantum drive. Walker commanded. "Reroute everything we have left." Anne shook her head. "Sir, we've lost 30% of our hull. If we try to jump now, better to risk it than surrender humanity's future to these things," Walker cut in. "Do it." Anne nodded and began the emergency procedures. The ship groaned around them as power was diverted from every remaining system to the quantum drive. Warning klaxons blared as multiple systems redlined. The Vex voice returned. "Your attempts to resist air." The rest of the message was cut off as Anne slammed her hand down on the emergency jump activation. The damaged Stellar Dawn lurched sickeningly as it tore its way into quantum space. The bridge crew was thrown against their stations as the ship shuddered and screamed around them. "Hull breach on decks 3 through 7. Thompson reported over the noise. "We're losing atmosphere. Emergency containment fields holding at 60%. Anne added. "The quantum drive is way beyond safety limits. We need to drop out now." Walker held on as his ship fell apart around him. "Get us as far as we can. We need to warn Earth." The next few minutes were chaos as the Stellar Dawn limped through quantum space, bleeding atmosphere, and leaving a trail of debris behind it. When they finally dropped back to normal space, the ship was barely recognizable as the proud vessel that had started the journey. Anne's voice was quiet as she read out the damage report. "We've lost most of our outer hull. Life support is running on backups. The quantum drive is, well, it's basically molten slag now. But we're alive." She looked up at Walker. "And we're still in space." Walker stood slowly, looking at his battered but unbowed crew. "Send out a distress signal to Earth. They need to know what happened here. The Vex thought they could break us, send us running back to our planet with our tails between our legs." He walked to the viewport, where Earth's sun was visible as a distant point of light. "But they made a mistake. They showed us their power, their technology. And now," he turned to face his crew, his expression hardening with determination. "Now we know what we're up against. They broke our ship." A smile slowly spread across his face. "Then we'll just have to build a better one." Anne and Thompson exchanged looks, and Walker could see the same fire in their eyes that he felt in his heart. The Vex had meant to discourage humanity from reaching for the stars. Instead, they had just given humanity's best and brightest the challenge of a lifetime. As emergency beacons activated and the backup systems hummed around them, Walker knew that this wasn't the end of humanity's journey to the stars. It was just the beginning of something much bigger. The Vex had shown their hand. And in doing so, they had given humanity exactly what it needed to surpass them. The race to build humanity's answer to the Vex threat had begun. The Luna shipyards buzzed with activity as engineers and workers moved across its vast construction base. 3 weeks had passed since the Stellar Dawn limped back to Earth, and humanity had not wasted a single minute. The attack had shaken Earth to its core, but instead of cowering in fear, people had responded with determination. Ann Miller stood in front of a holographic display, studying the twisted pieces of metal that had once been part of the Stellar Dawn's hull. Dark circles under her eyes showed how little she had slept, but there was an intense focus in her gaze. "Look at this," she said as Captain Walker approached. "The Vex didn't just tear our ship apart. They rewrote its basic structure. The metal itself was transformed at an atomic level." Walker leaned closer to the display. "Can we replicate it?" "Better." Anne's tired face broke into a smile. "We can improve it. The Vex are incredibly advanced, but they're also rigid. They do everything the same way, every time. But we humans, we get creative." She waved her hand, and the hologram changed to show a new ship design. It was unlike anything humanity had built before. A perfect blend of sharp Vex-like angles and smooth human curves. "I call it Project Phoenix," she said. "We're not just going to rebuild. We're going to take everything we learned from the Vex attack and make something entirely new." Robert Thompson walked in, carrying a stack of data tablets. "The quantum field analysis is complete," he announced. "You won't believe what we found in the debris." He set down the tablets and pulled up his own holographic display. The Vex don't just use technology. They fold space and time around themselves. But their method is wasteful. They brute force their way through dimensional barriers. And you think we can do better? Walker asked. Thompson nodded eagerly. Much better. Human brains are amazingly good at recognizing patterns and making intuitive leaps. We've already found 3 ways to improve their quantum field manipulation techniques. The project grew rapidly. Word spread across Earth about the ambitious plan, and soon the best minds from every nation were arriving at Luna shipyards. The old rivalries between countries faded as humanity united against a common threat. In one of the smaller research labs, Anne worked with a team testing new hull materials. They had discovered that by introducing controlled chaos into the molecular structure, they could make metals that were both stronger and more adaptable than anything the Vex had shown. It's like teaching the metal to think, she explained to Walker during one of his daily visits. The Vex build perfect structures, but perfection is fragile. Our design embraces imperfection, uses it as a strength. But not everyone agreed with their approach. In a heated meeting with Earth's military leaders, several generals demanded they focus on building weapons instead of a new exploration vessel. The Vex threatened to destroy us. One general thundered, pounding his fist on the table. We need battleships, not some fancy science project. Walker stood up slowly, commanding attention without raising his voice. The Vex didn't attack us because we were weak, he said. They attacked because they feared what we might become. If we respond with only weapons and war, we prove them right. But if we build something greater, something that shows the true potential of humanity. He let his words hang in the air. The room fell silent as his message sank in. Finally, the project received full approval to continue as planned. Weeks turned into months as the work continued. The new ship took shape in the largest construction bay, its hull gleaming under the work lights. But with progress came problems. Strange accidents began to plague the project. Key components would fail for no reason. Computer systems would crash, and crucial data would vanish. It's too organized to be random, Thompson said one evening as they reviewed another system failure. I think the Vex left something behind. Some kind of sabotage program buried in the technology we salvaged. Anne worked for 3 days straight, reviewing every piece of code and every component. She finally found it. Microscopic machines hidden within the salvaged Vex technology, programmed to cause subtle failures. But instead of destroying them, she did something unexpected. She reprogrammed them, teaching them to work with human systems instead of against them. It was exactly the kind of adaptive thinking the Vex couldn't understand. The real breakthrough came during a test of the new quantum drive system. Thompson had theorized that human emotions actually created unique patterns in quantum fields, patterns that could be used to enhance the ship's capabilities. The Vex see emotions as noise, as interference, he explained. But what if they're actually a form of quantum information processing? What if our feelings are actually connecting with reality in ways their pure logic can't match? They tested his theory by linking the quantum drive to human brainwave patterns. The results were astonishing. The drive didn't just work. It worked better than anything they had ever built. It responded to intuition, to intention, forming connections that pure mathematics said should be impossible. Don't you see? Anne exclaimed, her eyes shining with excitement as she reviewed the test results. This is why the Vex wanted to stop us. They saw that we would surpass them, not through superior technology, but by thinking differently, by feeling differently. The project continued to evolve. They discovered that human creativity could be channeled into the ship's systems, making them more adaptable and resilient. The vessel wouldn't just be controlled by its crew. It would work with them, learn from them, grow with them. As the ship neared completion, Walker stood with Anne and Thompson in the observation room, looking out at their creation. The vessel's hull seemed to shift and flow in the light, its surface a testament to the marriage of human intuition and advanced technology. It's beautiful, Anne said softly. Not perfect like a Vex ship, but better because of it. Thompson nodded in agreement. Every piece of technology they used to try to destroy us, we've turned into something new, something uniquely human. Walker smiled as he watched workers applying the final touches to the hull. The ship before them wasn't just humanity's answer to the Vex threat. It was proof that there were many paths to advancement, and that emotion and intuition were not weaknesses to be eliminated, but strengths to be embraced. The Vex wanted to keep us grounded, Walker said. Instead, they gave us wings. Now it's time to show them how high humanity can really fly. The new ship's systems hummed with power as Ann Miller ran another series of tests. She hadn't left the Luna shipyards in 3 days, and her hand shook slightly as she reached for her coffee cup. The project was entering its most critical phase, and no one wanted to take any chances. "You should get some rest," Thompson said, looking up from his own workstation. "You're no good to the project if you collapse." Anne shook her head. "I'm fine. Besides, something's still not right with the quantum field harmonics. The numbers don't add up." Before Thompson could argue further, a loud explosion rocked the testing chamber. Alarms blared as smoke poured from a ruptured power conduit. Anne rushed to the emergency controls, her fatigue forgotten as she worked to contain the damage. "What happened?" Walker demanded, running into the room. "Status report. Power spike in the main quantum matrix," Anne replied, her fingers flying over the controls. "But it doesn't make sense. All the safety protocols were in place. This shouldn't have been possible." Thompson was already reviewing the system logs. "This is the 3rd accident this week," he said grimly. "And look at this." He pointed to his screen, where lines of code scrolled past. "These power fluctuations aren't random. They're following a pattern, a Vex pattern." Walker's face hardened. "They're still watching us, still trying to stop us." "Not just watching," Anne said, wiping soot from her face. "They're learning. Each accident targets a different system, like they're testing our defenses, looking for weaknesses." The next few weeks brought more challenges. Critical components would mysteriously fail their final inspections. Computer systems would crash at crucial moments. Even the artificial gravity would occasionally flicker, sending tools and equipment floating through the construction base. But with each setback, the team grew stronger. They learned to think like the Vex, to anticipate their sabotage attempts. More importantly, they learned to think beyond the Vex, finding solutions their alien adversaries would never consider. One evening, as Anne was reviewing the latest system diagnostics, she noticed something strange. The ship's quantum field wasn't just active during tests. It was responding to the emotions of the workers around it. When the engineering team was frustrated, the field became more chaotic. When they were focused and determined, it stabilized. "Look at this," she called to Thompson, who was working nearby. "The ship, it's not just accepting our commands. It's connecting with us, learning from us." Thompson studied the readings with growing excitement. The Vex tried to program it to fail, but instead, it's adapting. Like a living thing. He paused, his eyes widening. "No, not like a living thing. Like a human." They brought their discovery to Walker, who immediately saw the possibilities. "Can we strengthen this connection? Make it part of the ship's core systems?" Anne nodded slowly, her mind already racing with ideas. "We'd need to completely redesign the control interfaces. Make them more intuitive. Less about pushing buttons and more about working together." The next phase of construction took an unexpected turn. Instead of fighting against the Vex interference, they began using it. Every attempt at sabotage became an opportunity to learn, to adapt, to grow stronger. The ship's systems became more resilient, more flexible, more human. During one test, Anne made a critical breakthrough. She was running a routine power check when another Vex-induced surge hit the systems. But this time, instead of trying to block it, she let it flow through the ship's quantum field. To everyone's amazement, the field didn't collapse. It absorbed the surge, grew stronger, and then reshaped itself into a more stable configuration. It's like immunity, she explained to Walker later. The more the Vex try to break us, the stronger we become. We're not just building a ship anymore. We're teaching it to evolve. The project entered its final stages. The ship's hull gleamed in the work lights, its surface seeming to shift and flow like liquid metal. Inside, the control systems were unlike anything humanity had built before. There were still screens and controls, but they were secondary to the neural interfaces that would allow the crew to work in perfect harmony with their vessel. Then came the day of the first full system test. Anne stood at the primary control station, her hands hovering over the neural interface pads. Thompson monitored the quantum field readings while Walker watched from the observation deck with Earth's military leaders. Beginning power-up sequence, Anne announced. The ship's systems came online one by one, each connecting smoothly with the others. The quantum field stabilized, forming a perfect bubble around the vessel. Everything was going perfectly, too perfectly. Anne felt a sudden chill. "Something's wrong," she said. "This is exactly what the Vex would expect. We need tow." The ship's power grid suddenly surged, overloading every system simultaneously. Warning lights flashed as the quantum field began to collapse. On the monitors, they could see Vex code emerging from hidden corners of the ship's programming, trying to tear it apart from the inside. "They've been waiting for this," Thompson shouted over the alarms. "They knew we'd try to perfect everything for the first test." Anne's hands flew over the controls, but nothing responded. The ship's systems were locked up, caught in a death spiral of cascading failures. In the observation deck, the military leaders were already calling for an emergency shutdown. But Anne saw something else in the readings, a pattern in the chaos, a rhythm in the destruction. Without thinking, she placed her hands directly on the neural interface pads. "What are you doing?" Thompson yelled. "The safety protocols are offline." "Exactly," Anne replied through gritted teeth. "No protocols, no perfect solutions, just human instinct." The neural link activated, and suddenly Anne could feel the ship's systems as if they were extensions of her own body. She felt the Vex code trying to impose its rigid patterns, its perfect order. And she responded not with programmed defenses, but with the beautiful chaos of human thought. The ship's quantum field flickered, then stabilized in a completely new configuration. Power levels that should have been impossible became steady. Systems that should have burned out began to heal themselves. "It's working," Thompson breathed, staring at his readings in amazement. "The field, it's not just stable, it's stronger than anything we've ever measured." In the observation deck, Walker smiled. The Vex had tried to destroy their project by forcing it to follow their rules of perfect order. Instead, they had helped create something entirely new, a ship that could think, feel, and adapt just like its human crew. As the test concluded successfully, Anne finally stepped away from the controls, exhausted but triumphant. They had done more than just survive the Vex's attempts to stop them. They had proven that humanity's greatest strengths were the very things the Vex saw as weaknesses. The ship was ready. Now it was time to show the galaxy what humanity could really do. The day of the ship's official unveiling arrived with a mix of excitement and tension. Thousands gathered at Luna shipyards, while millions more watched through video feeds across Earth. In the launch bay, the newly christened Phoenix Ascendant waited, its hull catching the light in ways that made it seem alive. Walker stood before the assembled crowd, his uniform crisp and neat. "When the Vex attacked us, they thought they were showing us our place in the galaxy. Instead, they showed us our potential. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you humanity's answer to those who would keep us earthbound." The massive bay doors opened, revealing the Phoenix Ascendant in all its glory. Gasps of wonder echoed through the crowd. The ship was beautiful, but not in the cold, geometric way of Vex vessels. It had an organic quality to its design, as if it had grown rather than been built. Anne and Thompson waited on the bridge, running final checks on the ship's systems. The neural interface hummed with quiet energy, ready to connect with its crew. Every station was designed to work with human intuition rather than against it. All systems are green, and reported as Walker joined them on the bridge. The quantum field is stable, and the neural links are operating at peak efficiency. Then let's show everyone what she can do, Walker said, settling into the captain's chair. As soon as he touched the neural interface panels, he felt the ship's presence in his mind, not as an alien machine, but as a partner ready to work with him. The demonstration began with basic maneuvers, but even these showed how different the Phoenix Ascendant was from traditional ships. It moved with impossible grace, responding to its crew's thoughts almost before they formed. The quantum field rippled and shifted, adapting to each movement with fluid precision. Thompson monitored the readings with a growing smile. The field harmonics are perfect. Better than perfect. They're evolving. Every move we make teaches the ship something new. They demonstrated the ship's defensive capabilities next. Drone targets appeared around the vessel, firing simulated weapons. The Phoenix Ascendant's shields didn't just block the attacks. They learned from them, becoming stronger with each hit. "Look at this," Anne called out, pointing to her display. The quantum field isn't just defending against the attacks. It's analyzing them, understanding them, improving itself. The crowd watched in amazement as the ship performed maneuvers that should have been impossible. It could alter its quantum state almost instantly, seeming to be in multiple places at once. Its hull could reconfigure itself on the fly, adapting to any situation. But the real test came unexpectedly. During a high-speed maneuver, Thompson's sensors picked up an anomaly. "Energy spike," he shouted. "Something's coming through." A familiar dark shape emerged from space nearby. A Vex scout ship. It had been watching, waiting for this moment. Before anyone could react, it fired a beam of energy directly at the Phoenix Ascendant. The crowd gasped, expecting destruction. But something incredible happened instead. The quantum field caught the beam, not just blocking it, but absorbing its energy. The ship's systems processed the attack, learned from it, grew stronger. Walker felt the ship's response through the neural link. It wasn't afraid or angry. It was curious, eager to learn, just like its human crew. "Send them a message," he ordered. "Show them what we've learned." The Phoenix Ascendant's quantum field expanded, reaching out to the Vex vessel. But instead of attacking, it began to communicate in pure energy patterns. The Vex ship's systems tried to resist, tried to impose their rigid order, but they couldn't match the fluid adaptability of human-enhanced technology. "Their shields are failing," Thompson reported, but his voice held no triumph. "No, not failing. They're changing, adapting to match our patterns." Through the neural link, Walker could feel the Vex ship's confusion. Its perfectly ordered systems were encountering something they couldn't categorize, technology that grew and changed, guided by human emotion and intuition. The Vex vessel retreated, vanishing back into quantum space, but they had learned something valuable. The Vex could be surprised. Their perfect logic could be overcome not by superior force, but by human unpredictability. As the demonstration continued, Anne noticed something remarkable in the ship's systems. "The quantum field," she said excitedly. "It's not just copying Vex technology anymore. It's creating entirely new configurations, things even they haven't thought of." They pushed the ship harder, testing its limits. The Phoenix Ascendant responded by exceeding every expectation. Its quantum drive could fold space in ways that made Vex calculations look crude by comparison. Its adaptive hull could transform to meet any challenge. And through it all, the neural link grew stronger, the connection between ship and crew becoming deeper and more intuitive. Walker addressed the crowd one final time as the demonstration concluded. "The Vex thought they could contain us by showing us how far ahead of us they were. But they didn't understand something fundamental about humanity. We don't just copy what we see. We imagine what could be. We don't just learn. We innovate. And most importantly, we don't just build machines. We create partnerships." The Phoenix Ascendant hung in space above the moon, its quantum field shimmering with possibilities. It represented more than just humanity's response to the Vex threat. It was proof that there were many paths to advancement in the universe, and that emotion and instinct could be just as powerful as cold logic. In the ship's heart, human and machine worked together in ways the Vex had never imagined possible. Each crew member's thoughts and feelings flowed through the neural network, making the ship more than the sum of its parts. It wasn't just a vessel anymore. It was humanity's dream of the future given form. As the celebration began on Earth, Walker looked at his crew with pride. They had done more than build a powerful ship. They had shown that humanity's greatest strength wasn't in trying to match the Vex's perfect order, but in embracing the beautiful chaos of human creativity. The Phoenix Ascendant was ready for its real mission. Soon, they would take it into deep space, not to challenge the Vex, but to show them and the rest of the galaxy that there was more than one way to reach for the stars. 3 months after its unveiling, the Phoenix Ascendant patrolled the edges of Earth's solar system. The crew had settled into a comfortable rhythm, learning something new about their remarkable ship every day. But they all knew this peace wouldn't last. The Vex wouldn't stay away forever. Walker stood at his command station, feeling the ship's steady pulse through the neural link. "Status report," he called out, maintaining their regular routine. "All systems normal," and replied from engineering. "The quantum field is..." She paused, frowning at her readings. "Captain, the field is showing unusual patterns, almost like it's excited about something." Before Walker could respond, Thompson's sensors lit up. Multiple quantum signatures detected. Big ones, much larger than the scout ship we encountered. Space twisted and warped as a massive Vex fleet emerged from quantum space. Dozens of ships, each one larger and more threatening than those that had attacked the stellar dawn. Their dark hulls formed perfect geometric patterns against the stars. The familiar artificial voice echoed through their communications. "Humans, you were warned. Your continued technological development has exceeded acceptable parameters. Your species will now be eliminated." Walker felt a surge of anticipation through the neural link. The Phoenix Ascendant wasn't afraid. It was ready. "All hands to battle stations," he ordered calmly. "Let's show them what humanity can really do." The Vex fleet launched their attack, firing beams of energy that could tear apart normal ships. But the Phoenix Ascendant was far from normal. Its quantum field shifted and flowed, not just blocking the attacks but learning from them, growing stronger with each blast. "They're trying to analyze our systems," Thompson reported, his fingers dancing across his console. "Just like before. But this time, we're the ones with surprises." Anne smiled as she monitored the ship's responses. The quantum field is adapting faster than they can scan it. Every pattern, they try to lock onto changes before they can understand it. The Phoenix Ascendant moved like a living thing, its hull rippling and transforming to meet each new threat. When the Vex tried to trap it in a quantum cage, the ship simply shifted through dimensions they hadn't even considered. When they attempted to disable its systems with computer viruses, the neural network absorbed the code and turned it into new defensive patterns. "Impossible," the Vex voice stated. "Your technology cannot exceed our calculations. Your chaos cannot overcome our order." Walker smiled. "That's where you're wrong. Our chaos, as you call it, isn't a weakness. It's the source of our strength." Through the neural link, he guided the Phoenix Ascendant into a complex series of maneuvers. The ship responded perfectly, its movements guided by both human intuition and advanced technology. The Vex fleet tried to predict their patterns, but there were no patterns to predict, only the flowing creativity of human thought. "Their formations are breaking down," Thompson announced. "They can't maintain their perfect geometric arrangements while trying to track us." Anne's voice was filled with excitement. "The quantum field is doing something new. It's not just defending anymore. It's reaching out, connecting with the space around us in ways I've never seen before." The Phoenix Ascendant's quantum field expanded, touching the Vex ships with tendrils of pure energy. But instead of attacking, it began to share information, not in cold, rigid data streams, but in waves of emotion and understanding. The Vex ship's perfect formations faltered as they encountered something beyond their comprehension. Their technology, designed to impose order on chaos, was being shown a different way. A path where order and chaos could work together, each making the other stronger. Their weapons are powering down, Thompson reported in amazement. They're trying to understand us. Through the neural link, Walker could feel the confusion rippling through the Vex fleet. Their perfectly ordered minds were encountering something that defied their basic assumptions about the universe. They had believed that advancement could only come through perfect logic and rigid control. The Phoenix Ascendant was showing them another way. Send them everything, Walker commanded. Show them who we really are. The quantum field pulsed with human history, not just their technological achievements, but their art, their music, their dreams. It showed the Vex how humanity had grown, not by eliminating chaos and emotion, but by embracing them, learning from them, turning them into sources of strength. One by one, the Vex ships pulled back, their perfect formations dissolving as they processed this new understanding. Their voice, when it came again, had changed subtly. Your path is unexpected, different. We must recalculate. Walker stood tall on his bridge. We don't want to fight you. We don't even want to defeat you. We want to show you that there's more than one way to reach for the stars. That perfection isn't always perfect. The massive Vex fleet hung in space, their rigid patterns now flowing in new ways. They had come to eliminate a threat to their ordered universe. Instead, they had found something that made their universe larger, richer, more complex. Your species will be watched, the Vex announced, but not to restrict, to learn. As the Vex fleet prepared to depart, Anne noticed something remarkable in her readings. Captain, look at this. They're quantum signatures. They're changing. They're starting to show variations, individual differences. They're learning to embrace a little chaos of their own. Thompson laughed softly. We didn't just prove them wrong about us. We helped them discover something new about themselves. The Vex ships vanished back into quantum space, but not in their usual perfect sequence. Each one chose its own moment, its own path, the first signs of individuality in a civilization built on absolute uniformity. Walker felt the Phoenix Ascendant's satisfaction through the neural link. The ship had done more than defend humanity. It had shown an ancient and powerful race that there was always more to learn, always new ways to grow. Take us home, Walker ordered, but not before sending a final message to the departing Vex. The galaxy is big enough for many kinds of intelligence. Maybe next time, we can explore it together. As the Phoenix Ascendant turned toward Earth, its quantum field shimmering with new possibilities, Walker looked at his crew with pride. They had faced extinction and emerged stronger. They had taken their greatest challenge and turned it into their greatest achievement. The ship that had been born from destruction had become a bridge between two very different ways of thinking. And somewhere out in the galaxy, the Vex were learning that sometimes the most perfect solution was to be a little less perfect. Humanity's path to the stars was clear now, and it would be unlike any other race's journey. They would go forward not with perfect order or pure chaos, but with the unique blend of both that made them human. And they would bring with them the lesson they had taught the Vex, that the universe was large enough for many kinds of greatness.